Philosophers, charlatans with fancy words. Are philosophers really intellectual giants, or just overrated wordsmiths? We've been told that philosophy is the pinnacle of human thought, that the great philosophers were brilliant minds who unlocked the mysteries of the universe through sheer intellect. But let's be honest, scientists have to prove their hypotheses. Historians have to verify their accounts. Mathematicians have to demonstrate their equations. And philosophers, they just have to write in a way that's complicated enough that no one can argue back without looking like an idiot. If you dare say that Hegel is just an incoherent mess, they'll tell you you don't understand his dialectic of spirit. If you claim Lacan is pure nonsense, they'll throw even more convoluted jargon at you. If you suggest Derrida deliberately made his writing impenetrable to seem deep, a mob of intellectual snobs will accuse you of failing to deconstruct reality.
Screw that!
An argument that only holds up because no one understands what the hell you said isn't brilliance. It's a cheap trick. Today on 277 Broadcast, we're tearing apart the myth of philosophers and asking if their greatest contribution to humanity was justifying the existence of university professors who do nothing useful. What the hell does a philosopher actually do? Before modern science, philosophers opened routes for interpreting the world, giving meaning to it, and pondering the great mysteries of existence. But now, what is the difference between the questions they can formulate and those any other human being on the planet could ask? Come on, let's not kid ourselves. Have they solved anything? No. Have they improved life in a tangible way? No. Have they proven anything beyond poetic rambling? No. All they've done is ask endless questions, write thousands of pages on ideas they can't prove, and engage in debates that remain unresolved centuries later. Tell me, how has your life changed knowing that Heidegger talked about being in the world? What does it even mean that ontology of presence defines our relationship with time? And what good is Hegel's dialectical model if even he couldn't explain it without sounding like a malfunctioning AI bot? There are people who read this stuff, don't understand a word, and convince themselves that it must be profound rather than admitting it's just bullshit. It is wisdom or intellectual masturbation. All right, not all of it is garbage. Socrates taught us to question what we take for granted. Nietzsche tore traditional morality to shreds with brutal clarity. Kant raised interesting limits about human knowledge. But then came the others. Lacan, who basically invented an indecipherable language so no one could challenge him. Derrida, who turned confusion into a writing technique. Hegel, who, if he were alive today, probably wouldn't even be able to explain his own ideas without sounding like a broken chatbot. Let's compare two statements. Einstein, time is relative, and here's the equation to prove it. Hegel, time is the manifestation of dialectical becoming in the construction of the absolute. One explains, the other deliberately confuses you, so you think it's genius. That's the trick. If no one understands it, it must be deep. It is speculation, but with fancy words. Philosophers write about the soul, being, existence. But how do you prove any of it? You can't. If you try to challenge a scientist, they show you data, experiments, and replicable results. If you try to challenge a philosopher, they say you're trapped in a reductionist epistemological paradigm. Translation, they throw more smoke at you because their knowledge can't be proven or disproven. If philosophy were a serious discipline, it wouldn't survive purely on the illusion of depth. A philosopher can write 500 pages on time, and at the end, you'll have learned nothing you can actually apply to your life. It doesn't even try to prove anything. Look, philosophy is the only field where you can write thousands of books without anyone asking for proof. An economist has to back up their theories with numbers. A biologist has to conduct experiments. A physicist has to make demonstrations. A philosopher, they just have to be ambiguous enough so no one can contradict them without looking like a fool. It's like writing novels with no plot, except they expect you to take them as knowledge. Because when someone asks, "Hey, how do you prove that?" they respond with more questions instead of answers. It's the perfect scam. If it can't be proven, it also can't be refuted. So is philosophy just a waste of time? Not entirely. Some philosophers have asked interesting questions, like Popper, Leibniz, Russell, among others. But most of them, they play with words without reaching conclusions. They invent new terms just to sound profound. They exist in an endless debate where nothing is ever resolved. If you really want to understand the world, science and history will give you actual answers. Literature and art will teach you more about the human mind than any philosophical treatise. But if you want to read some guy convinced that language is an infinite loop of never-ending meaning, then sure, go ahead and break your brain with Derrida and Hegel. Just don't pretend that what you're reading is actual knowledge. Subscribe to 277 Broadcast. And remember, if you need 500 pages to explain something, you probably have nothing to say.